Let me introduce you to the one and only xTool P2 laser machine, White Edition. And as I'm setting it up, which is pretty straightforward, I will tell you a bit more about this super machine, because it's pretty amazing. And before I start, let me just say a massive thank you to xTool for sending me this machine to try. So xTool P2 is a 55 watt CO2 laser with a bed size of 26 by 14 inches, and it can be used with a variety of materials like glass, wood, leather, coated metals, all sorts of acrylics and much more. There is a built-in autofocus which will measure the height of your materials for you, and two 16 megapixel cameras built in, one for live view so that you can see exactly where you are placing your images, and the other one for narrowing the view even more to specific areas, which helps to cut and engrave even really tiny objects. There are other special features like batch processing or curved engraving, and you can also get additional accessories such as riser base, automatic feeder, rotary attachment, honeycomb panel and smoke purifier. Now, this might seem like an advert to you, but I assure you I will be sharing my whole experience with this machine, and I will summarize the pros and cons of this laser that I have noticed at the end of this video. So this was one of the first projects I did on this machine. It's a display stand for earrings, and I'm using 3mm birch plywood for this, and the standard settings in xTool Creative Space for 3mm plywood. You can see my initial setup. I have the 3-inch ducting going into xTool smoke purifier and then out of the window. Now this worked, but I have still noticed the smell of burnt wood coming from various places of the machine, and so I kept changing the setup until I came up with something that worked for me. And I will show you later. These little clamps came handy too. I just needed to glue the stand on and then added some wood stain, which I should have done before gluing, if I'm being honest, but never mind, it looks great. Another day, another project. These are going to be cute summer earrings, and here are the settings. I pretty much left it as default xTool settings for 3mm plywood, but changed the cutting speed to 27. I'm new to the machine, and so I will be playing with different settings and sharing them in the future. Because I'm using this machine in our living room and there is nowhere else I could have it, I wanted to make sure the air is kept clean, and I got this useful device to tell me what the quality of air is like. And I'm gonna talk about it more later on. These are the earrings I just cut, painted and glued, and I think they look marvelous. I painted them with acrylic paint pens, stained the back with furniture stain, and I also decided to laser cut some of the ladies from a 2mm balsa plywood instead of the 3mm I started with, since it just looks better and less robust when you glue the layers together, and I still need to varnish them. Both of my sons absolutely love Transformers, and so I decided to make a few Autobots related things for them, like this slate coaster. It had little rubber dots stuck on the bottom, so I removed a few slats to accommodate the dots. And here is what the xTool Creative Space looks like when the P2 is connected. Even though the slate is black and hard to see, and so is the design, but if you hover over it, it changes to blue, so that's good. I selected stone coaster, then used the autofocus feature to measure my material. So I just placed this box in the middle of the coaster and clicked on it, which came at 4.7mm. Then I selected the image and changed the default settings a bit. Process, start, and you just press this button on the machine to start the machine. I must say I was pretty impressed with how easily and quickly this machine engraves and cuts, especially acrylic. This was clear acrylic, I just left the back paper on and look at that, no problem at all. I just gave it a rinse with some dish soap and water and it looked lovely. This was probably my favorite project of all. I just love how it turned out. It's a box that looks like a book and it has a sliding drawer. By the way, this is what I did after cutting little pieces out. I just couldn't be asked removing the slats all the time, so this was an easy alternative. Yeah, so after I had all of the parts cut out, I sanded the engraved top and bottom. I also could have just masked them with some masking tape, so I sprayed them with compressed air to remove the dust, and then I used this water-based furniture stain and cotton cloth. I applied it to the wood and let it dry. Then glued all the pieces together with Gorilla Wood glue. It looked good, but a bit plain. I really could have engraved something else on the covers, but it was already glued, so I simply engraved another design on a wooden disc I already had, using masking tape this time, and then to remove the masking tape, I stuck this strong Gorilla tape over it, and that was really helpful. Then I stained the disc and finally glued it on the top of the cover. Painted the wings and hair with oil-based gold pen. And then added fatback crystals for a little bit of sparkle. And this box is mine. My kids usually take most of the stuff I make, but I shall keep this one safe and use it for storing my treasures. I really wanted to try an engraved glass on this machine, so here is a glass ornament and this angel design. Next project was this coated metal business card. The head I just scored and the text was engraved. And I was using coated metal settings. Like I said, cutting acrylic was really easy on this machine and so fast. I kept the masking tape on when cutting, but some of the acrylics had plastic film on instead of the paper, and so I got a big roll of masking tape and used that instead. I will do a better job masking my wood and acrylics next time, using proper tools as well. Also, you don't need to have the masking tape on. The machine will still cut the acrylics, I just have it on to protect it from scratches. By the way, I always clean the slats after a day of use, especially after cutting acrylics. Let me tell you more about batch processing. So I had a lot of these little discs at home and I wanted to try the smart fill feature. And I did. Set it up, hit start, and off the machine went. But the discs were so light and small that the airflow in the machine and the laser head started moving them around. From what I have gathered, the smart fill feature needs to have enough contrast between the objects, so I tried to put the little discs on various flat surfaces, but either there was no contrast or the surface was too slippery. So it was time to use the honeycomb panel. It's a great and useful thing when cutting and engraving small object like I was, although there were a few things I would have changed about it. But on that later on. When I put the honeycomb panel in, I selected open plane and kept getting this message. If you are using honeycomb without the riser base, use slats in the xTool creative space and then either add the material thickness manually or use the autofocus feature. So here I have my design ready. I am using the close capture view feature. So one of the cameras in the machine moved above this disk I selected and took a photo of it. And I can now enlarge the photo and easily add my design to the disk. And if I want to close the close capture view, I just right click and select delete close capture view and go back to the live view. Your design may look like it moved back, but don't worry, it didn't. It's just a different camera looking at the disks in the machine. Next, select the design and click on Smart Fill. It will automatically add my image onto all the other disks. But although it's fairly accurate, most of them still needed to be adjusted a bit, and so I'm using the close capture view on each of them separately and adjusting the image. I think this feature is pretty much for the one-offs. I mean, if you know you have a job like this and will need to do this multiple times in the future, it will be better and more time effective to create a jig. But not bad for little jobs like this. So I think it was pretty successful. One of them must have moved, as you can see, but other than that, pretty cool. Here are some other bits I made with this machine, like these wooden earrings that still need to be finished. And also these wooden earrings that are already finished. More acrylic earrings. And a keychain. And I have only just started. I have to say I'm really impressed with this machine so far, but as I promised, I will now summarize the pros and cons that I have noticed whilst using this machine, and I would also like to mention a few more important things. Okay, so I will start with a con and then I will provide a solution to that if possible. Number one, and this one was the biggest con for me in my situation, this machine is not 100% airtight. There are many places in this machine from which some of the smoke and fumes can escape. You can definitely smell burnt wood and especially acrylic when the machine is on, even whilst running the smoke purifier. And I have to say the xTool smoke purifier works really well. I just don't think it's fast enough to get rid of all the smoke and all the fumes before they get out of the machine in different ways. Now, I doubt that other CO2 machines or just laser cutters of this size and this power are 100% airtight. I just wanted to mention it in this video because it was a bummer for me. I was probably a bit naive. I thought I would get the machine, get the xTool air purifier, and that will just keep everything out of the room, which was not the case. So if you're like me in a similar situation, I have this machine in our living room, then I just want you to be aware of that. Solution. I have to say I played with the setup for days and days. My recommendation would be, if you can, get a powerful inline fan, connect it to your machine with at least 4-inch ducting and vent it outside. I bought the AC Infinity S6 inline fan, and then I also bought adapters for the ducting from 6 inches to 4 inches, and I also put some duct tape on each side because I wanted the adapters to fit snugly. And honestly, this fan is amazing. It's got a little remote control as well, and because I live in the UK, I had to get one of these adapters. You can just get it from Amazon. I got this one from Amazon as well. I pretty much got everything from Amazon. I love Amazon. When I had it set up like that, it was absolutely amazing. No smell, nothing. Everything was going really fast out of the window, and yeah, it was perfect. Unfortunately for me, I can't keep doing that because we live in a close proximity to our neighbors and also very close to a public path. And so for me, this is simply not an option. I mean, if we ever move somewhere more remote, then yes, that's exactly what I'm gonna be doing. But yeah, not at the moment. I do need to use the smoke purifier. So I had to come up with a different setup, and this is the setup I am using at the moment, for now anyway. So basically I have a 4-inch ducting going into the smoke purifier, and then I have the AC Infinity fan attached straight to the smoke purifier, and then there is a long ducting, and it's going out of a small window that we have in the hallway. And I did contact xTool and ask them about this, and they don't recommend it because they say that it may interfere with the function of the air purifier, which I completely understand. I am willing to take that risk, and it seems to be working. Like, you can definitely see the smoke getting sucked out of the machine faster. You can still smell a bit of burnt wood or acrylics when you are cutting that sort of material, but it's just not as bad as it was at the beginning. It's even better when the ducting is closer to the window. Sometimes I make it shorter and run it out of the window right next to the machine, but I will come back to it later. There is a reason why I don't open the window right next to the machine most of the time. And yes, I have attached it with duct tape, but I now have the reducers, which I don't know if they're gonna work, but I will try to somehow fix it. Now, talking about fumes and smoke, especially if you are using your laser in like a shared living space with your family, then you might want to invest in a machine just like this, which will measure the quality of air for you. So I just look at it as a reference. It's really useful, and I don't need to rely on my nose. I can visually see what's happening and if I should be worried or not. And in addition to this, I also just recently ordered a mask from Amazon. It's supposed to be for like organic gases, and I'm guessing this is gonna be good for the acrylics, just to be on the safe side, because I only have one set of lungs and I am not gonna compromise it. Okay, con number 2. This machine is rather loud. And it also has this like rattling noise inside, which I already got used to, but it's just different. And there is no solution to that other than earplugs and your windows closed if you have neighbors. I mean, honestly, it's really not that bad. I did have the windows open and I stood outside and it was okay. Like, you could hear it, but it wasn't like super loud. So yeah, but I tend to keep the windows closed, and that's why I vent out of the little window in the hallway. Con number 3, and this is me probably just being picky, but you know, the cable that the machine came with, you're supposed to connect your machine to your computer. It's pretty short. I would probably expect this sort of cable for like F1, because F1 is really little and you can move it anywhere you want. With this machine, where you put it, it stays there and you can't just move it easily. So you have to work around it, and yeah, this cable really doesn't work for me. So the solution is to buy a longer cable. I got a pack of 2 3-meter cables and sorted. Or of course you can connect your machine to your Wi-Fi, but I am not gonna personally do that because our Wi-Fi is not that great. Number 4, the slats. I have to say they are good, but they are not great for every project. For example, if you are engraving something small, then the piece will just move about. Or if you are cutting lots of little pieces out, there is a big chance that they will just fall in between and under the slats, and then the machine will engrave or cut over them, and that will just ruin them. Solution! Use the honeycomb panel. It's great and it keeps the little pieces, or at least most of them, in place. Although it's a bit of a pain to clean, unlike the slats. So far I've been using the xTool honeycomb panel for P2 and I've not had any issues with it, but there are a few bits and bobs that I have noticed which I would probably change if it was up to me. So when you remove the slats and put the honeycomb panel inside the machine, then the honeycomb panel actually sits a little bit higher than the slats, which means that you will not be able to use, the set measurements from the material list. You will still need to change the thickness of the material, and you can do that by using the autofocus feature, and it's easy peasy. Also, I've noticed the honeycomb pattern doesn't go right to the edge. So basically there is the black frame around the honeycomb panel, which is not a problem, but when you take some of the materials that xTool sells, they are 30 by 30 centimeters. Your plywood, all the acrylics, they are like squares. It will go over the frame of the honeycomb panel. I'm guessing you can still cut over the frame of the panel because it's metal. I'm just not sure like what the cut will look like. I'm guessing there will be a lot of charring from the bottom. I mean, you can still use the xTool honeycomb panel and work around it. Maybe use smaller pieces of wood or just cut over the frame. I mean, it's still possible. And it's a well-built, good quality honeycomb panel. Or you could use stainless steel mesh over the slats. You just need to make sure that it sits flat on the slats, and that's it pretty much. Now the third solution that I can think of is to go for an off-brand honeycomb panel. Now I have seen one on Etsy, there are probably more, and it's a specific honeycomb panel for P2. It sits lower in the machine than the xTool one, and it also has more of that mesh area to work on. I have no idea what the quality is like, just saying that it's out there, and please do your research. Okay, just like the slats and the honeycomb, this one is not really a con or a pro, or could be both really for somebody. But let me just quickly talk about the batch processing. It works, but not always. You do need contrast for the smart fill to work. You just need to know how and with what to use it, and also after the smart fill the images usually need a little bit of adjusting still, but overall I think it's a great feature. Okay, I'm just gonna jump into pros. Number one, the biggest pro for me is the speed of cutting. The engraving could be a little bit faster, but it's alright. But the speed of cutting wood, acrylic, oh my god, it's so much faster than my D1 Pro 20 watt ever was, and it's great. I mean, I'm so impressed. Pro number two are the dual cameras in the machine, and I love the fact that I can see my material in the xTool creative space, like on my computer. I can see exactly where I'm putting the images, and then with a close capture view I can do it so precisely. Personally, I'm really happy with this feature. Pro number three is the autofocus. I mean, the fact that I can press a button and it will measure my material is just a time saver. Pro number four is the variety of materials you can use with this machine, especially like glass, all sorts of acrylics, and there is no need to mask it or cover it with any paint. The cuts are perfect and clean. I actually forgot to mention this when I was talking about cutting plywood. The cuts are really clean and beautiful. There is hardly any charring. It's really amazing. The quality of the cuts, mwah, chef's kiss. Pro number five is the enclosed and sleek design of this machine, and I absolutely love the white version. And personally, what I love is this lock, which will keep it locked when the machine is in use. I think it's a really good feature. Some people might not like it, but I do. And honestly, it unlocks in like 2 seconds after the machine finishes. Even if something went wrong and you had to press the emergency button, which is on the side, the lock will unlock in like a few seconds. I actually haven't tried pressing the emergency button yet, but that's what xTool told me. Pro number six. The setup is really straightforward. The instruction manual tells you exactly step by step what you need to do. There are pictures in the manual with arrows pointing to the screws, and at the same time you've got these little green stickers on the actual machine in different places, and those stickers tell you what you need to do as well. So it was really easy, and I was worried about the setup, but honestly, if I could do it, anyone could do it. Now, this is not a pro nor a con, but this machine is pretty large, so you will need to consider if you have the space for it, and also you will need a sturdy bench or a sturdy table to put it on, as well as someone to help you lift it on there because it is very heavy. There are some other features on the machine like the curved engraving, which I'm still going to try, and also so many accessories you can add to the machine, such as the riser base for higher items, automatic feeder to make larger projects, rotary attachment for tumblers, for example, honeycomb panel and smoke purifier. I do have the riser base as well, which I'm gonna try and set up another time. But what I'm trying to say is that this machine has so many possibilities and options, and I think it's great. I also wanted to mention a few more things, starting with fire safety. If you use any kind of laser machine, especially at home, make sure you have a fire extinguisher right next to your machine, just in case. It needs to be suitable for electronic equipment, and I have spoken to somebody from the fire shop where I bought mine, and they recommended this one. So this is the one I got. I live in the UK, so I'm not sure if this brand is available elsewhere, but it's called Fire XO, and it's suitable for home use and for all kinds of fires, so it's suitable for electronics as well. It says on there. This size is 2 liters, and I think this is perfect for me because it's not too heavy. I can easily lift it up, so you might want to look into this. And I also got a small can of the Fire XO just to be on the safe side. Still talking about fire safety, so there is also a fire safety set that xTool sells, and I think it's suitable for like all different laser machines. If you are interested, look into it. And something I really wanted to mention in this video, and I understand if you've had a laser machine for a while and you already know this, but for those of you who are only just starting, please don't cut just anything you find. I know it's really tempting, but some things can be extremely flammable or really toxic when cut or engraved. If you are just beginning and you are unsure about what materials can be used in the laser machine, then maybe buy them from companies just like xTool, who specializes in laser cutting and laser engraving, and you will also be able to see what materials are suitable for what machines. I think it's a really good and safe way to start with laser cutting and engraving, and in the meanwhile you can do your research and then start buying from elsewhere, but I think it's a good starting point. So, what do I think of the xTool P2? Well, I love it. It's big but not enormous. It works great. It looks great, and honestly, I can't wait to make more projects on this machine. I'm even considering starting a business with the P2. Anyway, I really hope this video and information was somewhat helpful to you, or possibly got inspired by the projects in this video. And if that's so, then please give this video a like and consider subscribing to my channel, because there will be more content like this and other crafting projects. And if you are by any chance considering purchasing this machine, then of course I will link it down below in the description box, so go and check it out. And I will also try and link all the other things that I was talking about in this video, so you can easily find them. If you have any questions, then please leave me a comment below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!